Is anyone else
Oh,
joining?
um, yes, they are. Now, before, no, it's just us, but they can't see you
Okay.
right now, and I've got you. I'm going to mute you actually. So, hello everyone. So this is Imogen Heap. You may recognize me from your Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are. And I'm coming online today to tell you about a very exciting release. So my friend Justin Beretta has has made this amazing track that I really love. And I heard it for the first time just on the phone. And then I was like, oh my God, that's so good. And then I heard it for the second time in the car. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And now I want to hear it in a club so that I can dance to this track. So Justin was in touch with me. He's working on his album, which is done now, and it's going to be coming out, I think, on June the 5th. And I have heard a few bits, and it's really great. But this one particular that we're talking about is coming out today, and it's called Back to Life. And Justin has written this track entirely by himself. I have nothing to do with it, which I love it, so I'd be very happy if I did. And he used my Mogen voice. So he's used AI Mogen's voice. So this is the voice that was entirely trained off all of my vocal recordings, or some vocal recordings, and then made a model with a company called Jen. And then we have given permission to Justin to use this model. And the track that he sent back, I just love. And I'm so excited. And it almost does feel like it's bringing me back to life in a different way, because I can hear myself in this music, and I can imagine myself. I don't know. I know I haven't had anything to do with it, but I feel like I'm being prolific all of a sudden, because my voice is getting out there onto other tracks, and it's making me want to make music again. So it's this interesting thing that's happening. Anyway, so today that song is being released, and I wanted to bring in Justin. He's over there in LA, beautiful where he is. You'll see in a moment. And maybe we just bring him in now. Shall we bring him in now? Alrighty, you're live, Justin.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay.
Hi, Imogen.
Yeah. So happy to chat with you on this very special morning over there, and the
Yeah,
waves are like really amazing.
yes.
Whereabouts are you in? Doesn't it like?
I'm in Northern California on the coast by San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Okay. Have you moved there then, or are you just hanging out there?
Yeah. Yeah, we left Los Angeles after the fires and decided to go
Wow.
go towards nature.
Beautiful. Okay. So it's really gorgeous. I mean, yeah. So when's my invite to the housewarming?
Anytime.
Great.
And Mogen is invited too.
Okay. Well, she will be very excited. I mean, I hadn't got a passport. Maybe she doesn't need one. Um,
He needs a real ID.
nobody's ever invited her or anything, so I think she's going to be so happy to hear that. She can
Will
probably
she
already
have an
hear it.
embodied robot?
I mean, I think if she had anything to do with it, she would. But whether we can facilitate that for her, we might be letting her down a bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm sure she would if she could. Who knows in the future? Maybe maybe she won't be human-like. Maybe she'll be like a cat or something
2 years.
amorphous, shape-changing thing, lizard-like chameleon. Um, so yeah, so tell us. So this album. Now you've also worked with somebody that I know very well,
Hmm.
Damien.
Yes.
Damien Taylor. So it's like the supergroup. Well, no, he hasn't written anything. I believe he's helped. He's kind of mastered it, or what has he done? Damien mixed it,
Damien,
helped
he did a lot
mix.
of things on this actually. No,
Yeah,
he did some additional production. He
yeah.
did some mixing and mastering, but also, I was starting this process in 2023, and I wanted someone to be a high level creative collaborator on this. I was in a band before this for many years, so this is my first solo journey.
Oh
And
wow.
Damien was a was and is a dear friend, and I decided to bring someone in to help doula the album. So he had a lot of different roles, and it really wouldn't have happened without him. He's such an incredible technician, but also I love collaboration. To me, music is all about the collaboration. It's about the communication, staying up late nights with people and texting files back and forth. So to work on this with someone who's a friend has been incredible. And yeah, Back to Life came. Actually, this was the newest song. The rest of the album was finished quite a bit earlier.
Yeah. I just realised that my cursor was on the screen and everyone could see the cursor. Oh no, you couldn't see that because it's different. Okay, anyway, I could see the cursor. No, that's great. So you were in a band before. Was this your first solo record?
It is, yeah. The Glitch Mob is still a band, and I
Yeah,
left to focus on this album. And I had done individual singles
yeah.
and done a lot of ambient music, work with meditation teachers and people like Alan Watts's Estate and Ram Dass, and I was doing a lot of deep ambient music. And so this album and this whole project is the combination of my time making dance music and electronic, and then with the depth, the
Mm.
textures of creating ambient music all came into this new album, which is not ambient, as you can hear with
No,
this
no.
song.
I haven't heard all of it. I'm looking forward to hearing all of it.
I'll send a link.
Yes, please. So Alan Watts. So have you been on this journey for a while, or has it kind of had an acceleration that's led you to do this solo project with the thinkings and the philosophy that you've had around the Alan Watts Institute and whatever work you've been doing there?
I've been on the journey for quite a while, but the first piece that came out was in 2018 with Ram Dass. But I grew up with Alan Watts books around the house. My father had them sitting around, so
Oh
it
wow.
was around me. And um, at some point, I decided to take these audio meditations and then just score them. And that was really just for me. I did those for a long time,
Mm,
and I didn't release them because I made dance music, and I didn't want to. It didn't make sense to me to put out ambient. So I would listen to these Alan Watts recordings, close my eyes, open up my Ableton Push, and start jamming and essentially ornamenting the profundities. And eventually, I started putting those out. But when I did this album, I didn't intend to have Alan's voice on there or these other bits. It was in, when you're working on something, I have my sample folder there, and I started dragging bits in. And yeah, the lead track, Hear the Listener,
mm,
which the album is named after, has bits of Alan that I've taken and vocoded and made a whole new harmonic structure out of. And it was right there. So it feels like unintentionally was a bridge between
mm.
these two worlds.
Wow, that's amazing. And I mean, did you need to get copyright for things like that? Or do I not ask about that?
Hmm?
Do you need to get copyright for things like that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I work directly with the foundation and with his son, Mark, who's been incredibly generous because there's this massive archive of audio. And in fact, he has literal 3 truckloads of tapes that have not been digitized. So we've raised money for the foundation uh, to digitize these works, to make them available
Mm,
online because it's really helped me. I have felt like these teachings have been a companion I can put on a drive. I will throw on an Alan Watts recording, or he has all these lectures that he has given around the world. So Mark, his son, traveled around with him when he was a kid,
mm,
and so these recordings are a way to bring the wisdom back into culture. I mean,
yeah.
music is such a powerful messenger, so I try to sprinkle little bits in there.
Mm,
And I love sampling too. I come from more of, I would say, a sampling electronic hip hop style production. So for me, it's very natural to grab something and throw it in there and then figure out later how to get it signed off.
yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Wow. I'd love to. I wonder if Mark has considered. Because I was speaking to the daughter of another amazing speaker
Mm.
who's left with his legacy and just kind of like, yeah, absolutely like tons of writings and, lectures and all kinds of things. And, me having dabbled a little bit with AI Mogen and, creating a knowledge base there. And we have this really good voice of hers now. I still sound a bit like some kind of 90s British comedy, but
Yeah,
I quite like it. It's not as bad as it was.
sounds
Um,
great.
um, and I'm wondering about, yeah, how these personalities, a bit like, bring it back to Harry Potter. So that Harry Potter had this, you have these paintings, these talking paintings. It's not like talking to it's not like talking to the real human, obviously, but a kind of like an aura of that person. And wondering if Mark had considered like ingesting all of these amazing cassettes and tapes and of Alan Watts, and that could we have an Alan Watts app where we go to converse with and discuss, or maybe add in other philosophers and kind of, into your mix, so you could have like your private kind of thought space, because you like to listen to his words, and it takes you places, and you might want to directly ask questions back, with something like not chat, maybe ChatGPT or whatever that is in the future. Like, you patch bay in your kind of your teachers almost, to go to ask questions based on your kind of perimeter of preferences, of kind
Mm.
of great minds that you might want to engage with, rather than just ChatGPT deciding who that might be.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I wonder if
I
he's
would
thought
love
about
that.
that. Maybe you should talk to
I,
him.
I, I should have him on
Yeah.
the stream. I'm sure he would love to he would love to discuss. But I think that's such an interesting thing because it extends beyond just the voice model where you have the likeness of the voice. And
Mm,
then I think especially coming from Mark and from the foundation where they can curate
exactly.
how he responds and the sort of things that he would say. I would speak with a virtual Alan every day. I would be drinking my tea in the morning and then
Mm,
have a chat with him about what's happening. But it is also important because I mean I've taken PDFs from philosophers and from writers and put them into ChatGPT and then
mm,
had them and then converse with them there. But also, there's so much other stuff in these models that is just there. It's a really interesting idea. I mean, and part of what got me so excited about Mojin when we were in the desert, and you started speaking to me about this, I thought this is so interesting because this the ability um, to grant access to this one part of your artistic presence
mm,
is it's so interesting to me, and the way that the collaboration happened was like nothing ever before. And the yeah the I think especially for people that had an interest, people that have passed away that have an interest in their legacy
mm,
and their teachings living on, this is such an interesting moment because it's also we're talking about
mm,
the consensual training, which is interesting. Like as I've had conversations about Mojin, this idea of being ethically trained
mm,
comes
mm,
up
mm,
quite a bit, and I think it's such a useful moment to have artists controlling these things. And I love the way that you did this and the whole thing happened too, because if we were trying to coordinate our schedules
never
to
happen.
record something, and especially because there is this this harmonic structure to it that happened in 24 hours. It
Mm.
was one of the most seamless collaborations I've ever had, especially with someone overseas.
Amazing. That's great to hear. I mean, she's just so efficient. She's just like everywhere, on time, all the time, in tune. Ooh. Well, actually, she's as much in tune as the person who sang the original, the melody. So yeah, I'm curious. Can you tell me about the process? Because so you wrote the track, you had a melody, you had some words. So what was the original voice that went in, and how does that get kind of acknowledged as well? Because Mogen is essentially a timbre transfer. It's about
Hmm.
it's like somebody might play a keyboard melody, but then so Mogen is essentially the other another sound, so the same performance has happened. I haven't sung it, I haven't changed the way the inflection or the melody or anything like that, the dynamics. That's all down to the original singer, that is then whoever that was, and then Mogen, brings in my voice on top of that. Yeah.
Mm. It was such a fun process. So I was working on this track, and a little more backstory is that I had actually finished the album in November. I took some space away from it, and I came back and I thought, it's just not good enough. It's not done. And
Oh dear.
everyone on the team was like, ah.
Oh
But
god.
I knew that there was seven songs and it wasn't quite there. So I decided to go back to the drawing board. And this was the first one that came out. I said, okay, I'm going to give myself a very specific window, and I wanted to do something in this tempo range. Um, and as I was working on this song, I found a sample on Splice, which is where the original Back to Life came
Ah,
from.
okay.
And it was funny because it was chopped up. So it went
Ah.
bring me back to life. And um I tried to unstutter it and I couldn't. It
Mm,
was it was too baked into the sample and there was reverb. So I actually reached out to the company that made the sample
Oh,
And I
nice.
said, hey, you have this sample that has a baked-in stutter effect. And the I wish I remembered the name because he was so kind. And he went back into his sessions and he sent me the sample.
Wow.
And then as I was listening to it, I was like, wow, this sounds like Imogen. And that's when I sent it to you.
Hmm. Maybe it
And
was me. No, I'm joking.
it could
You
it
ripped
might
me
have
off.
been.
No, I'm joking.
And it was Mojen working on the side. And from there, though, it was interesting because I felt like the reverb was so baked in that I wanted to have someone else sing it. So I reached out to my friend Aisha Vaughn, who's an incredible vocalist. I believe she's in Wales. But so she then resung the sample and
Okay.
then added harmonics to it. And so in the final project, there's bits of all of this in there because I had a version that was all Mogen,
Yeah.
and I thought it was interesting to leave some of them in. Also,
Mm.
if you listen, you can hear the difference in the accents and the way that the
Yeah,
word
I did notice that.
back
Yeah, yeah,
is pronounced.
yeah.
And at the very end, instead of trying to scrub it clean and make it seem like that, it's all in there. And so then when you sent me back all of the different harmonics that had stacks from Aisha and some bits of the original sample, and then everything was then squished and down, and I resampled it and played it in with
It's been through the grinder a
with my
few
push.
times. Yeah.
Yes.
But it sounds so, I don't know, it has so much energy. I'm really drawn to it.
Mm,
It feels deeply human. Even though the process has been, quite mechanical in a way, and it's come from Splice, and then another person come in and chopped it up, and then hashed it all together. But it has this real just pull and connection to it, and yeah,
mm,
I really love it. I think you've made something
thank
beautiful.
you.
Um, and so you kind of pulled this all together in like record time. You said it took 24 hours. Is that right? Like in terms of
The
what
f-
happened in the 24 hours?
so I think we had um, sent some texts back and forth, but is when I finally sent you the samples, they came back 24, 48
Oh, I
hours
see.
later,
Sorry. Yeah, yeah.
perfectly organized.
Yes.
It was
That's
it was
Alexi.
incredible.
Thank you, Alexi.
Yes.
Alexi and
Yeah, your
Tristan.
team is incredible. And it happened so quickly because yeah, it was a relatively, I mean, it wasn't that complex, but it was so precise
Mm-mm.
um that it happened quickly and they sounded incredible. So was fast.
That's really good. Yeah, yeah. So there were definitely some humans in the loop there on my side. There was Alexi and Tristan, who Alexi was the one kind of engaging with you, and then Tristan ran it through the model, and then they sent it back
Hmm.
to you. So yeah, and the feeling of I don't know, it feels so great to hear my voice in something which I wouldn't have. I just would never have been that fast. And yes, like you say, the logistics. I can't even barely speak to a friend on the phone. Um, so having you do that, it just feels like I am alive in a different way, and I am being prolific in a different way, and I feel like that at my core. I feel deeply prolific. I have so many ideas. I just can't finish them. I just can't get around to like doing the finishing bit. I love the making bit. I love the creating, but I don't enjoy that kind of perfecting bit of it at all.
Hmm.
And so having having other people be able to just go off and make things and them finishing it is amazing. I really love it. And there's only one other person that has released a track with Imogen voice, and she's called Lucy Hayes, and her
Hmm.
track was called Baby, and it's very different. Her track is um, she's very dexterous in her voice. So just my voice sings these insane things which I could never do. But there's this weird thing that happens when you hear your voice singing some other melody. It's like your brain is kind of, or your muscles, your vocal cords are kind of like adjusting and going, oh,
Hmm.
I would sing like that, I would sing like that. And I feel like I can sing better as a result of hearing my voice do things that I would not normally have done, because I've
Huh.
chucked all kinds of things, like I chucked an Ariana Grande song in there just for fun, just to see what that would feel like and what that
Wow.
would sound like. And I sent it to her, and she was like, "What?" Um, so it's a very strange thing, and I wondered about rehabilitation and things like that. We were chatting to it with the team the other day. Could there, because there is this thing of when I see my body or when I hear my voice, my brain exists inside, with that voice and with that body. And I wonder about, even just physical rehabilitation or kind of, voice speech therapy. Is there
Hmm.
something in that? because it really feels strange. Because if somebody say has had a stroke, or again, I'm like speaking a load of nonsense, but if you had recorded, movement, and you'd recorded before, if everybody just did that one day, they kind of went in for like 12, 20 minutes or whatever, recorded the way they walked, the way they sat, the way they talked, the way their vowels, everything. And you were just kind of getting these data points, which could then, at any point later in life, if you need any rehabilitation, could you have like an exoskeleton that could kind of, instead of you trying to walk like, because they have those like, you know, uh, kind of exoskeleton things that you go and do, you try to learn to walk again, right? But could there
Yeah.
be something at a much finer degree where all the kind of the motors and gyroscopes or whatever are just really moving very much to the way that you would move? It would make it much easier and kind of bring you back to life, in a way. I'm just
Hmm.
curious because it does feel like that when you listen to something out of your own body.
That's such an interesting way to think about that. I mean, and it feels like because the voice models are so good and it's the technology is sufficiently advanced to where the end result was really compelling. And the visuals are obviously getting there too. And as you were describing the exoskeleton, I was thinking about Ramdas actually. And when I went to spend some time with him before he passed away in Maui, he had had a stroke. And there's something very beautiful about speaking to him post-stroke. There was long pauses in between words, and it was very, very meditative experience. And
Mm,
he had to be very succinct with it. But as you were saying that, I was thinking about as an option, if I ever had a stroke and there's an ability to type or think and and communicate in a much more um, complex way later in life, it would be nice to
like
have
a
that
backup
option. And
storage.
also,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I was wondering when you trained this model, was this on vocals that you recorded specifically for this, or was this all just
Mm.
from stems?
Yeah, so I have been trying to find a way to help artists, musicians, vocalists find quick ways to train their voice because, you know, about a couple of years ago, some people started to reach out, like Table Audio and Mic Drop, and they kind of were like, can we have all of this material? We want to make a model voice of yours. And I was kind of
Hmm.
excited by it. And they were like, oh, we want hours of stuff. And I'm like, oh, God. It's hard to find good recordings of hours of stuff that isn't just, messing around and didn't end up on a record and whatever is not,
Yeah.
you've got stems of original songs maybe, but then I was still signed to Sony at the time, so I didn't want to like give them any of those tracks because now they're all mine again. Haha. But back then
Hmm.
it was like I felt uncomfortable about that because you never know what they might ask. So I thought, I wonder what's the least amount possible that you can do. And so I did some
Hmm.
experiments with Tristan where we created our own model in the beginning just to see what could happen. And I just thought, for fun, let's just see if I just sing whatever I like. I'm just going to actually what I did was I asked ChatGPT to create me a paragraph of all the phonemes in the English language,
Wow.
or 3 paragraphs, and then I just improvised around them. So I was like, "The brain is a saucy devil," or whatever you want to sing, in whatever way, and just kind of mentally was going, okay, probably need to get some more high stuff or some more low stuff or some more breathy
Hmm.
stuff or some breaths or some other sounds that wouldn't normally be in my voice but might be interesting if somebody had like a glottal or a shout or a scream, to add those into it. So I was like, I just recorded everything so it
Wow.
had like a full palette. And then just off that 20 minutes, we got a really great model that was better than anything else. So I was like,
Really?
okay,
Huh.
it's not. And actually, when we added in all the kind of like long tones getting louder and softer and all that stuff, it didn't really help it. And if anything, it kind of made it less like me. So,
Hmm.
I've been kind
Interesting.
of wanting to develop this training app, or like a recording app, like almost like I'm a producer, getting the best out of someone's voice. And I like the idea. And I have actually never done a pattern in my life before, but I have actually got this pattern because I think it's quite good. And I don't
Hmm.
want any other company to do it for lots of profit. I want to give it out for free.
Yeah.
So you basically would sing into it, and it would ask you, I would ask you, or Mojo would ask you, what words would you like to infuse into your model? Because it's a way of kind of manifesting, isn't it? It's like if at the training start you're just like peace and prosperity in all the world, and you know the environment is happy and healthy, and my family is safe, and whatever you want to put out there, and so you can add these into the prompt, add these into the add it into the, what do you call it, the pool of words that would create
Mm.
all the phonemes, but would be infused by this, these thoughts that you want to spread. So whenever you use my voice, what it's been trained on are those vocals, but also those words. So perhaps in some kind of
Ah,
lovely way, I might feel that those words are in some way getting out there with the intention of it. So I thought it'd be nice to create an app where musicians can say what's important to them, and they can speak it out loud, and they can really think about that, or even just sing it. But at the same time, Mogen is kind of going, oh, okay, like I need this bit, the fingerprint of your voice. I need a high bit, I need a low bit, a little bit more, And once that's
mm.
all identified and all full, then we kind of store it for you in an Oracle, an Oracle, Aura of everything, something about everything about something. Sorry, oracles.io. And in that,
Yeah.
you would keep it safe. And then, as and when these, vocal training or the AI model companies become more and more, you have a safe proof that they are your vocals. You recorded that at that time. They can't have been faked because you've been given a very unique kind of audio capture almost based on your
Mm.
words. And then, so there's no argument about proof. You couldn't fake somebody else's voice because there'd just be no way you could cut up Ariana Grande's voice quick enough, to be able to make that
Right.
happen. So yeah, I'm
Mm.
kind of in the background just hoping that one day I can make that because I think that'd be quite nice.
I think that would make a lot of sense too, and especially because the voice is it's the technology makes a lot of sense right now. So I was thinking about for me as a producer, I
Mm,
don't sing on my tracks, but I definitely have a melodic thing that I do that I can't even
mm,
really qualify, but I know I feel like a model would be able to listen
mm,
to my audio stems and my MIDI and create that same version. And then it makes a lot of sense connecting
yeah.
with an Oracle. And then I could grant rights if someone wanted my particular
Mm,
melody. I could say, okay, you can have the Beretta melody player on this track. And that's
100%.
there's
Yeah.
something really, really interesting about that. And I imagine too, I have a friend that actually made a very rough version of this thing with audio, where I was listening to stems and then spinning out a lookalike melody. And he said the most wild thing about it was hearing a melody that he didn't write,
Mm,
but that felt kind of like him. And I think it's very similar to what you're saying about the vocal model is can you learn more about yourself and
mm,
your own creative process, and then in turn be inspired from that thing, then that's really powerful because it goes beyond just it being a product or a need for scale.
mm.
It's something totally different.
Yeah. No, I found it not just I mean the model of my voice, it's been really great being able to share that with others. I used it on a couple of remixes I did as well, where I just chucked all the stems through Mogen voice. So I had like Mogen
Mm.
drums, Mogen voice drums. It was hilarious, but some of it was quite cool.
Oh,
But the
cool.
other thing I do is I would sing in the car a melody, or if something comes up and if I really like it and I'm working on a track, sometimes it's hard to just find the exact moment when Scout's not bumbling around and you're not exhausted and you're by a microphone. So I could just chuck that recording into Mogen and it would come out sounding like a studio recording, and I'd just chuck it in the track. And it's pretty, or you can just like make one vocal line and then put that whole vocal line through Mogen. You've got like a great doubler. Um, which,
Wow.
I mean, you can just do it with a doubler, I suppose, or with but it's
Yeah.
just, there's lots of things that I never thought I'd end up using it for that I am using it for.
Yeah, and the weirdness that comes out of it is that's what I love about this process too, because imagine if we had done this collaboration and I sent you the Back to Life the instrumental, maybe the melodies that would have come out would have been completely different. And there's something about the fact that we all have these go-to melodic and harmonic structures, and what came out was really obviously dictated by the sample. But one of the questions I had in this whole process was, um, do you ever plan on giving people access to Mojin on a more scalable platform? And I know that I think Grimes has a version of this, and Holly Herndon
Yeah.
does as well. And it's an interesting process because I was thinking about for me, if I was doing this, I don't know how comfortable I would feel letting it completely
Mm.
out into the wilds.
Yeah.
But maybe those are growing pains. But I'm curious, yeah, do you have plans for the public to be able to
Yeah,
use her?
I do want to do it, but there's lots of things I want to do in before that. And though you
Yeah.
mentioned Holly Herndon there, and Holly Plus is her AI voice persona, and as I understand it, it won't sing words for the reasons that she
Ah,
wants to it not to go off and do nefarious things and say horrible things about, or be in a political campaign or whatever. I had 100% checked that, but I have in the back of
yeah.
my mind, I feel like they very cleverly with Matt Dryhurst kind of created this model that would be the timbre of her voice, and would sing nice harmonies, and the way she does it so that you should, I think it's 50% of stuff, that if it's on a blockchain or kind of like released somehow, like Web3, but then it's really hard to track, obviously, with the current system of the industry as it is. So yeah, so it's just, I mean, that was a couple of years ago. It's probably way ahead of that now. But I saw her
Mm.
do like a duet with an artist who was on stage with a very different voice. He was a man, and he had a very, very deep voice, and he was singing with her voice, and she was singing with her voice, I think, or maybe he was just singing on his own, and
Oh
he was
yeah.
duet with his voice and her model, and it was just amazing. She's just so cool. I adore her.
Yes.
So yeah,
Big
the
fan.
answer is, if there was some way, and I think there should be, as this marketplace will come about, an artist might feel pressured, oh, this person's done a model, I should probably do that as well, what I would love is that we feel empowered and ready. So if we have our, voices, they're stored there, we can essentially invite the marketplace to our Oracle or to our home base, and we can have, maybe Jen or Voice Swap or Mic Drop or, all these people, or hooks, whatever it's called, can kind of come and essentially pitch you the voice model and their terms and conditions. And then if you like that, maybe they do a try before you buy thing or try before you collaborate thing. And then once you like that and you feel like the terms and conditions are really up to scratch and that you're happy, then you go with that one. Rather than the other way around, which is like, well, if you send us all these vocals, we'll
Right.
then send you a model back. And you're like, well, I don't know what you're going to do with it after. And, so I think having that agency and having that protection that we can start to call the shots if we prepare something that's organized and ready to go, then the marketplace will come to us, then we can get the best deals. And I think that as, our preferences are kind of like granular preferences have to get better and better in regards to AI. It's not just opt in, opt out, whatever, that's rubbish. It's like, yes, I want to opt into this very specific thing with this very specific company. I don't want to opt into everything.
Right.
So with me, it's like Jen has this very specific use case for, style transfer. So you were saying about getting your
Mm.
style. So you can like type in a prompt in Jen, so it like creates music, and then you can turn up the style of Headlock or Just For Now or What Have You Done To Me. You can turn it up, and it sounds a bit more like one of those tracks, but it's not the composition, it's not the recording, because it's neither one. It's just something else, but it's got that essence. And so for
Mm.
Jen, very precisely, they can use that, and then I can take it down if I want. I just have to give a few days notice, and we agree everything, and it doesn't go into the into the base model. So there's lots of things there, and I think over time, services will just have to come to the party with, yes, it won't go into the base model. Yes, you can take it down whenever you like. Yes, 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 yes. We can get the best percentages, and on top of that, it could be like, yes, we will make sure that it's not easy for people to say these specific words or mention any of this type of stuff if you're really not into it, so that you can at least get to the best of your abilities, in the way that Holly's kind of stopped you from making words, which I think, again, I have to check that,
Yeah.
is where we need to go. So you can have
Yes.
complete control and feel, pretty good about it. Because either way, I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do, aren't they? They already do. They're already taking voice. They're already deep faking. They already do that stuff.
Yeah.
But at least if we make it easier for people to do the right thing, and to just make really great things that we would be happy to promote and share, like now, then eventually people will just go that way, because that's ultimately where we want to go. Is we want to make great art. We want to collaborate with humans and machines, or only humans or only machines. We need to know what's what. We need to have some kind of visual categorizations of like
Yeah.
how much has been in and what's been in. Because even now, when you start to ingest music into, I have a distributor called Symphonic, and so with them, it's
Yeah.
like,
Same.
yeah. So one of the things that they sent me was, are you using AI in your music? And I'm like, well, yes, but not in the way that you're suggesting. I'm not writing my music with AI. I'm using my AI voice model, which has been purely ethically trained, 100% permission. but they don't have.
Mm.
There's no one is doing this granular stuff. So that's maybe going to be, yeah, that needs to come up soon, doesn't it? It's like it's not that
So
we
that's
don't
so
want AI.
interesting.
It's just that we want to know what it is and how much and has it got permission and is it ethical and and that shouldn't
Mm.
take like 20 minutes or 20 hours to show. It should just be a quick machine readable thing which can get ported into all kinds of different services so we can see it like an ingredients list, on the back of a
Right.
bit of chicken or whatever.
And do you check the AI box on Symphonic?
I know I had to message them and go, well, it's not. I am using AI, but it's not in the compositional sense. I'm
Yeah.
using AI Mogen, my voice timbre, which is entirely all me, is in this track. Which well,
Mm.
actually it's not yet, but it will be soon, because it's featuring Mogen as this entire song at the end of this huge long piece, which I one day will finish. Which is yeah, all about presence and what is human, what are we not, what is consciousness? Is AI actually going to be more conscious than we'll ever be by being
Mm.
completely in tune with everything and the planet and the weather systems and beyond and all the knowledge ever? There's no time, there's no place. So, yeah. Anyway, I
That's so interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I mean, you've been out here doing this for so long now. Um, I feel like there's this need for more nuance around the language because we say AI, and of course, on a on a um on a broad scale, people need to know what this really means. It comes down to sort of automation. And I mean, Matt Dryhurst and Holly, I mean, he's my favorite thinker and philosopher about this stuff. Matt and Holly have helped, especially I loved their interdependence podcast. But this
yeah,
idea
so
that we're
good.
lumping all this stuff together, and when I say something about AI to someone who might not know the nuance of what's happened technically, they conflate this idea of stealing copyright.
Mm,
And it's so interesting because there's all sorts of uses of AI, and of these tools which have nothing to do with stealing copyright at all.
mm,
And it is it is such a fascinating moment to be able to separate this stuff out. And even, on a more fundamental level, all these social networks we use are all powered by these same tools. I mean, the biggest AI in the world is Instagram, and the Meta engine, which is certainly learning from everything
yeah,
that we're doing and updating. So I think that I'm curious if you've had blowback on this stuff, or at
of
this point, because
course.
you're such an innovator, what it
100%.
feels like now. Because as people start to see these tools becoming more useful, I feel
Mm,
like it is polarizing, right? There are some people that are becoming more and more anti and want nothing to
mm,
do with it, which I also completely understand. And then
mm.
artists that decide to go, like you, and use these tools and make things with them, that we have to enter into the discourse.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, I know. There's probably already now. I haven't looked, but maybe on the comments there's like, I hate Imogen. I'm never going to listen to her music, and she's using AI. It's so bad for the environment. And it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, yes, but let's put things relative. Like, yes, bad for the environment, but yeah, have you eaten a hamburger recently? Because that's probably more bad for the environment in terms of like water and oil and all the resources to get it to you than I don't know, however, what equivalent that of hours of AI generative stuff would be, but it'd be significant. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I struggle with that, but at the same time, I had that with blockchain as well. I had that, in the beginning. Actually, not in the
Right.
beginning because nobody really knew what was going on. But then, like about 5 years later, I kind of had my first I did a smart contract thing like 10 years ago. And then
Wow.
about 5 or 6 years later, I thought, well, I'll have a go at an NFT and see what that's about. And then I just got such backlash. And it was so annoying because actually, I think it was like a third of the money or whatever it was went to this company called Nori, who
Mm.
distribute a percentage of. Well, I worked with them to distribute a percentage of the income that was made from the NFT that would be given to this company Nori, and they give the money to farmers in the States who use like more carbon sequestering soil. So yeah, it's not like not using blockchain at the time, but it actually sequestered, or in time it would sequester more CO2 tons than any piece of music has ever done.
Wow.
So, and it was just like a tiny percentage of whatever it went for, 1,000 or something like that. And so it's just how you adapt and how you make it work. You can just kind of go, not, no, AI is bad and evil. I'm never going to go there. But it's like, okay, fine. But all the people that are doing those potentially bad and evil things are going to carry on. So
Right.
you kind of need to get in there if you care that much, and start to shape it, because it's not going away. And if anything, it's just what it is. It's so breathtaking how much it's moving. I mean, even just today, I was just going, God, I really want to create a max patch so that I can remotely control my Ableton system from down at the piano. And I also want to record all the tempo and everything from my gloves into Reaper at the same time. So how do I do that? I had to create a max patch, and I don't really know what I'm doing in terms of all that stuff. So I went to ChatGPT, typed in some stuff, and it showed me how to do it, and it created with me this match packs, and now it works. Okay, so I
Really?
would
It works?
never be able to do that.
Wow.
And I was just like, God, these things are so ready already. But yeah, at the same time, that has learnt off, it has learnt from Max. It's also probably learnt from a bunch of programmers, all kinds of people that didn't give permission. Every single little tiny thing that is on any of these models is all human, investment of time in terms
Yeah.
of us, and our thoughts and our creations are all hoovered up by these things already. We have a big like about AI copyright or whatever, but it's doing it to everything and everyone. It just
Yep.
happens that we do have a copyright system for ideas and melodies and things.
Mm.
And I'm not saying it's and we do need to find a solution, and there will be solutions, of course, and we are working towards it 100%. Because if we can't value and see the through of where ideas came from, in the point of time in not too very distant future, where AI can pretty much do anything, what will the children grow up when they have never been in life, when there wasn't AI? When you couldn't just say, "Oh, create me a piece of music that sounds like a burger eating itself with some seagulls flying around and I'm in a balloon," or whatever. Um, before you can do that, we didn't have the internet either. Like, so
Mm.
it's just so fast. And so when that generation happens, what will they know of us? What will they know of humans before AI generative stuff? So I think right now
Mm.
it's so important to be able to capture this moment, to be able to identify what is human, to identify our work, to get it in order, to get it in a massive filing system essentially, so that we can link to our works right now, give permission, get that into this seed layer, so that when it grows and becomes this huge giant everything, all knowing everything, it will know where it came from, and we will know. Humans of the future will know that we did used to make things,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I'm not gonna there are always going to be those people, but they are they just read the headlines, and they go with the largely. I know there are definitely are things to be fearful of, 100%. You know,
Sure.
you hear people who used to work at Google and all that, DeepMind or whatever, and they're really scared, so yes, but what am I going to
Yeah.
do about that? I can't. I could be scared, or I could just
Make
like
things.
make things, and then maybe be scared, but not be quite so scared, and just have fun and make the world that we want to live in now, rather than hoping that it's just going to kind of magically work itself out, which it won't
Yes.
if everybody thought it
Yes.
did, or maybe it will. Anyway, it's much more fun to do positive things.
I love what you just said so much. And it's funny too, because people think about the the output product of this stuff. But for me, aside from this Mogen project, I use AI as a as an educational tool. I have been able to learn so much. I don't use it. I don't use actually any of the generative AI music stuff. I don't
Yeah,
find it
no,
to be
no.
interesting. At some point, maybe it will be, and I'm happy that some people are having a go at typing in a prompt and feeling what it's like to make a song. Aside from the vocal timbre transfer stuff,
Mm,
which is great, I actually don't I haven't found use for absolutely any of it. And I find that my because we can generate infinite drum samples. There's so many interesting things to do, but the co-pilot stuff starts to become interesting to
mm,
me, where I have used it to come up with interesting musical ideas that I might not normally use.
mm,
I mean, something I discovered the other day, I don't know if you know this, but I just decided to try. I sent ChatGPT a link to my Dropbox
mm,
and it
mm,
listens to my album instantly
mm.
and gave me feedback on it. It
Wow,
it was able to, and I've never
I
heard
didn't know it
anyone.
could do that.
I didn't know either, and I don't know if it
That's a
knows
new
it can
thing.
do that,
It's a
but
new
it was
thing.
able to not, it not only
Analyze.
was
Yeah.
quick, but it knew that Alan Watts was on there. It ingested things and it understood that I like to use the Mixolydian mode. It was my mind absolutely
Wow, that's new.
exploded.
That is totally new. Because about a year ago or whatever, I uploaded something and I was like, can you analyze this track for me? Because I was like, wouldn't it just be really helpful if you could just like chuck in a thing, key tempo, words, everything, just like, and then just like create yourself a sample set out of everything that's in your hard drive, and just like automate to categorize it. Nice. And so it said that something like, I can do that, but I don't have that functionality for you or something like that. Meaning it totally could do that, but they hadn't switched it on. So they've switched it on now, which is amazing. And really interesting. I'm wondering now how I could use that already and get outputs of keys and tempos and semantics and all that stuff. Because we have a company that we use called Cyanide. So in in Oracles, you can drag a track on it and it will tell you all the key, tempo, semantics, words. It will describe it in a kind of in a way, and that's just like. And then you can add in the musicians if they're real musicians, or add in gear or whatever. And I've started to do that because
Mm.
anyone can actually go and do that. But I've started to drag and drop like batch samples. So when I do an improvisation, I might actually do one after this. I'm going to take my gloves and go downstairs. And we're starting to create a workflow where I'm doing an improvisation, and then after that, we record all the stems. Now I've just done this thing in Reaper. And then drag and drop that into Ableton, do a quick edit, make some samples that Lucy's doing for me, and then they pop up on the Oracle. So you can have an Oracle of the stream. So I'll make a nice thing out of it, like a couple of minutes, put an ISRC, ISWT on it, and then anyone can just listen to it, download it, whatever they like. And then you can also go through and listen to all the samples. So there are loads of song starters in there. So if you want to, or if anybody wants to, I know you can go to Suno and Udio and Jen, all that stuff. But if you want to just do that with me, you can literally go to this account, which I have a kind of another name called Imogen Heap. That's an anagram of my name. And this is the like experimental, free, open, improvising Imogen Heap that just loves collaborating. Because I do love collaborating. Because I'm Imogen Heap, I have all this like expectation. Oh, but it has
Yes.
to be a song. It has to be like this. So this is my like light-hearted child self that just wants to go and make music all the time, and doesn't have to worry about perfecting it and just chucking it out there. So there's all these
Mm.
unfinished things that I am trying to put together and make available on Oracles, so that people can in time use it as a sample library for anyone who wants to put up that stuff. And then we're going to create some kind of analysis tool, and basically so that if somebody say takes like a 20-second piece, there's some really nice bits, they might make a track out of it. And then if that goes up onto say Spotify or whatever, and they haven't come back and got permission to it, essentially the content ID will pick it up. Because otherwise, if somebody else does it, and they both have the same bit, then somebody else's content ID is going to pick up this one, and it's actually not that at all, it's this one here.
Uh,
So it's basically trying to create a mechanism so when you finish with the track, you drag and drop it into AuraDrop. It goes, these samples are from Freak Daddy and Imogen Heap and Beretta. And then you go in there and you can just like ask, and then it sends out a message to us. And we go, oh yeah, sure, we hear the original, we hear the sample, and we agree on the terms and conditions, or just give it out for free. But basically we have to white label it, that section, so that you don't get
mm.
caught up in content ID, and neither does anyone else. So yeah, it's not
Mm.
as quick as like chucking in a prompt or whatever, but it's human, and it's just, I would love to, for people just to finish these things, because I just, there's so many nice bits, and I will just never have enough time in the world to finish them all. And I
Yes.
know other people would like it. So yeah,
I would
that's
love
like going
that.
on in the background. And it's kind of
That's
basically as a result of things like Suno, Udio, Gen, whatever, just feeling like it is so quick to make a prompt, and so quick and they mainly people do it because they want to start with something. They want, where do I start? It's like, well, you can start from all these things. There's hundreds of them. Just like try it out. So as we get better at the curation, or get better at identifying the samples in the search, obviously it's a way away from that now, but yeah, it's this technology that's gone, well, why don't we
mm.
just do that? Why don't we just let things out for free, and just
Right.
trust that the world will do the right thing, because I do think they will, and if they don't, then we'll go and chase them like we do now with remixes. But it
We
just
do.
feels like, yeah, the more open, the better things, more things can happen. And then I don't know.
Can you
Yeah,
fingerprint an individual sample?
you
So
can.
when you have so it's not the whole song that needs, but if you have one vocal snippet, you can actually track that on its own.
You can, yes, I think we can. We're going to work with a company we was in touch with a few years ago called ACR Cloud that Ben Jordan put me in touch with, and they do, yeah, kind of fingerprinting. So again, it's not necessarily for the reasons of I want to track everything. It's actually just to help people, because if they do end up taking pieces, then they're going to have content ID conflicts amongst themselves if they don't have
Hmm.
this original piece whitelisted. And the only way that they can do that is if they send the track back, I basically give that permission to use this. They have the clearance, and then the Spotify's of the world or whatever in the future can see that they have permission, so they don't get a takedown. But yes, you can do that. Yeah.
Oh, and I love the also the invitation to have this open easel thing. I also have some secret projects as well, and it's so important to be able to have those
Mm.
bits of output.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
wow, I'm looking forward to, I would love to
Well, you
hear
can
that
go now.
folder.
You can go to Auracles and you can just go and look up Hymgon 8,
Really?
and then you'll see there's a couple of tracks up with some samples, and I've got a bunch more that I need to get around to finishing, but I got a bit sidetracked with Reaper and Ableton Max today. So I have to go soon because these guys need to leave. But why don't we leave with, we could play the song, not all the song or all the song. It's up to you. What do you want to do?
Yeah,
Do you play the whole thing? Or do you want to play a
sure.
bit of it? I don't know. It's up to you.
It's 3 minutes. We
I'm
could
happy to play it all. I'm just like, would you like to? It's up to you. I don't know.
no, let's play it.
Yeah? Okay.
Let's
All
play it.
right, so we're
I'm
going to
gonna
play
dance
it,
around.
and then we're going to go because I have to go.
Okay.
But it was absolutely lovely talking with you, and all the best with your new
Always a
release.
pleasure.
I hope it goes great. And maybe I'll come out and see you there now in
Yes.
somewhere nice in North Carolina. It looks
Come
great.
hang on
Carolina,
the Ocean Studio.
California. Yeah, it looks lush. Okay, so I'm going to play a track, and then I'll be dancing around, and then we'll just kind of say goodbye and go. Okay,
All right.
here we go. This is Back to Life with Beretta and AI Imogen. And I'm going to turn off my mic so I don't cough and masticate all over it. Right, so I'm going to take that off. Goodbye for now.
Bring me back to, bring me back to, bring me back to, bring me back to. Bring me back to love. Bring me back to love. Bring me back to love. Bring me back to love.
I remember being with you now in Joshua Tree. Go, Imogen. Bring me back to life. Woohoo, you can do it.
listened to it all the way through
What?
in a while.
Oh, not in a while. Woo! Well
I needed
done,
that. Thank
Justin.
you.
That was
Thanks, you,
awesome.
Imogen.
So
Wow,
good. Thank
so
you.
fun.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mogen.
Mogen, wherever you are.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Oh dear. In fact, if anyone's interested, I was chatting just quickly. So I was chatting with Mogen the other day because we've done a new voice model, spoken word model with 11 Labs, and it's just it's so uncanny.
Wow.
It's like hilarious, but it was just using the test mode, so it doesn't actually have any like real knowledge in it. But it's this hilarious kind of. I was trying to see if I could bring it up, but I haven't brought it up in time. But
Hmm.
there's a great video that Freak's putting together that's going to go on the app, and then people can see me chatting with Mogen. It's quite hilarious.
Wow.
Well, Justin, congrats. Amazing. I find it amazing that anyone can finish anything these days. And it's really, really, it just really lifts me, this track. So thank you so much. And maybe we'll find ourselves in a desert or wherever by the ocean at a rave listening to this. I want to be
Yes.
there whenever that is. I want to be there.
Yes.
So let me know.
Thank you so
Um,
much. This has been one of the most strange, fun, easy, cool collaborations I've done in a very long time. Thank you and your team and especially Mogen and her
Yeah,
model.
bless her.
I appreciate it. I'm so happy that this is out.
Cool.
And next time I'll show you the maybe next time will be the deep fake
Yeah,
project.
I can't wait. I love that idea. Yeah, so if anybody wants to, are you also doing a listening party at some point?
There's
So
going to be a listening party in LA.
so yeah, if anyone wants to go and do that, they can just like follow you at Beretta, sorry, I can't stop saying it that way. But also you can go to beretta.net, right? And you can
That's right.
get mailing lists and all that. So yeah, all right, maybe see you there whenever that is.
Thank you.
Lots of love, and yeah, chat to you another time. Bye
Take
for
care.
me.
Bye.
Amazing.